Hi, my name is Goldman, and I'm the director and founder of Goldman & Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law issues here in Michigan, and today we're going to continue our video series designed to educate and inform the public, so please subscribe to our channel. I want to talk today about cooperation. I want to talk today about cooperation as it relates to the children. We were asked whether or not, do I need my ex's permission to travel with my child? It's a good question. It's a very general question. I think we'd have to paint that with a much thinner brush because travel could mean different things. Travel could mean taking your kid to Cedar Point for the day. Some people think that's what travel means. Other people think travel means taking a trip to, Bologna, Italy for a week and a half. What is it that we're talking about? I will tell you like this. In the spirit of cooperation, if the parties are getting along and the post-divorce relationship supports it, there should be communication all the time so that everybody basically knows where everybody is. So that if you are taking your kids, let's say to Cedar Point, that maybe your ex expects that you might come home a little later. The kids might come home tired and wet. There's something going on and they should be over surprised. So there's nothing particularly wrong in saying, look, today we're going to Cedar Point. I mean, that level of cooperation should exist. It doesn't always. Sometimes the parties just can't get it together and they cannot have that cooperation. And as soon as one person shares one thing, the other side criticizes and micromanages, and sometimes the relationship just doesn't support it. But let's assume that it does. If it does, every effort should be made to be transparent about where you're taking the kid. Do you have to? No, I suppose you don't have to. It's your parenting time. You get to take the kid wherever you want. As long as you pick up and bring back on time, the child isn't harmed in any way, and the court hasn't ordered anything to the contrary, you don't owe anybody any explanations. But as a function of decency and in an effort to get along with somebody, it might be advisable for both sides to be appropriately transparent about these kinds of things. Now, having said that, let's talk about the other example. Let's say the child's with you during a winter break. And we're not talking about Kalahari or Cedar Point. We're not talking about running up for the day to Frankenmuth. We're talking about a trip to Europe for a week and a half. If we're talking about that, I would think that it would be appropriate, certainly to share that with your ex. Tell them this is what we're doing. This is why I need the passport. I may need the COVID certificates. They're going to know anyway because you're going to need this. And there may be a requirement if you're taking a child out of the country. Somebody may ask, well, where's the other parent? Do you have permission to do this and all that? So there's going to be some cooperation that may be required anyway. So you may have to loop the other person in. Really wasn't the question though. The question was, do I need their permission? Well, as far as the divorce court is concerned, you really don't need their permission unless the court ordered that they have an approval right. That they have the right to say, I approve or disapprove of this itinerary. In most cases, you don't need their permission. I do think, though, that just like with the example with Cedar Point, I do think it would be appropriate, if the relationship supports this, to be transparent about it. After all, when she takes the kids away and they go to, Disneyland for a week in the winter, you're going to want to know. You're going to want to know whether or not you will reach your child. If there's a 7-hour time difference, like if you go to Europe, you're going to want to know that because you're going to want to know, how come I call my kid, I can't reach him, never reach him. Why is that? Well, if you knew what was going on and you knew that they were 7 hours ahead or behind, you wouldn't feel so bad. So I would say this. In terms of the court, if the court doesn't order it, you don't have to provide it. In terms of cooperation and decency, you probably should. Now, in terms of whether or not the people at the border are going to let you take a child across without permission from both parents or without an affidavit or without some authorization, that's a different story. And you may find that even though the court doesn't require you to tell them, that the border officials do. If you have any questions about that, reach out and we'll be glad to help you out.